Hi everybody, and welcome to your first look at this year's Nashville Film Festival. Every spring, just like daffodils, we have a hand-picked crop of great movies. The festival is a chance for the stars and the creative folks behind the scenes to take a bow and hear some of their first applause. We'll begin tonight with a movie that's sure to draw a big crowd, a loving tribute to the Wrecking Crew, some of the greatest musicians you never knew.
KHJ Los Angeles.
If you listen to the radio at all, say in the last 40 years, there is 100% certainty you heard the Wrecking Crew.
They were the ones with all the spirit and all the know-how, especially for rock and roll music.
In the hardcore producing area, everybody knew what went on there. I mean, everybody knew that the best musicians played on all the sessions, but we as the general public didn't know. I had no idea that certain people didn't play their own records until the Monkees came along.
Right now we'd like to show you how the Beach Boys go about making a record.
They worked in the shadows of real stars and pseudo-stars, never getting any credit for crafting those hit riffs. Not a single member known by name. In fact, some didn't even realize they had a collective nickname.
You know, all the guys that had been in the studios, God bless them all, for 20, 30 years, they all wore the blue blazers, the neckties, and there was no talking and no smoking and no nothing. And we came in there with Levi's and T-shirts, smoking cigarettes, whatever, and the older guys were saying, they're going to wreck the business.
This wasn't just a boys' club. Even before Women's Lib, Carol Kay was the chick with the chops.
And she was like the star of the show. I mean, she was the greatest bass player in the world.
Here's the way that the beat goes on sounded like when we first heard it. La-di-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I thought, uh-oh, we need to pull a rabbit out of a hat for this one. You know, it was our job to come up with riffs and stuff. So about the third line I came up with was da-da-da-da-da. Without a good bass line, the tune doesn't pop.
The beat goes on.
What he wanted was to bring the banjo back to Africa.
Banjo virtuoso Bela Fleck is about to take off on a musical adventure to Africa.
Another hot ticket this year will be Bela Fleck's outstanding musical travelogue, Throw Down Your Heart. Like a modern-day Bartok, he looks for common ground in the indigenous sounds of the banjo's birthplace.
I mean, people don't realize how loud this thing is. This thing is like a rock band. It's like a big rock band coming out of a PA speaker.
Engineer extraordinaire Dave Cinco manages to weave microphones in just the right places for exquisite film sound.
You
guys want to try something?
Just when you think he can't top that,
Nice to meet you.
Haruna.
Bela discovers another.
Many strings. Is it normal to have 12?
Non, 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 c'est pas normal. Normal, c'est 6 cordes. C'est moi qui ai ajouté une plus cordes.
Some more notes.
Plus de notes.
makes it different than going to the movies on a regular basis is the fact that we usually have about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A afterwards. And this is your opportunity to ask a question about the subject matter, you know, about the actor, about the filmmaking, about the cinematography, anything you want to ask. They're very happy. They're very interested in your feedback.
Coming up, Trace Adkins goes from The Apprentice to the dark side, and see what became of Clint Eastwood's Leftovers. There are a lot of Tennessee connections in this year's festival. You're about to see a young actor from White Bluff play against type, and a country star take on a devilish role.
Keeps the edge on. Everybody talking about they want to take the edge off. Take the edge off, dude. Take the edge off. God. Here we go. Here we go.
A hometown boy, graduate of Dixon County High in Sewanee, is the star of Cook County. But it's hard to recognize the handsome Anson Mount as an addicted, paranoid meth addict.
She's too young. She shouldn't be hanging around all this type of stuff.
Hey, I think I know what's best for my daughter, all right? You don't have to tell me about my daughter.
To be honest, I didn't think I'd make it through this movie at first.
What?
But the performances are so good and the twists so disturbing, it grabbed me.
Awful lot of drain cleaner, Abe. You sure you don't need a plumber?
No, sir, Mr. Jimmy. Just got a lot of sinks at the house.
This ain't the best starter fluid, you know. I got a whole lot better brand in the back. You want me to go get you some?
That's all right, Mr. Jimmy.
I don't mind. It costs about the same.
I like that kind, so.
Sure? He likes that kind, Jimmy. Suit yourself.
Well, my uncle bumps the mechanics why I need so much. So. What else? Take some cold medicine, too.
Okay.
All of them.
Ripped from the comic book series of the same name comes Trailer Park of Terror, with none other than Trace Adkins playing the devil himself.
You know, the weaker ones among us would have you believe that violence never pays. I am not one of those people. I say, therein lies salvation.
Everybody head for the trailer park. There won't be any freaks there.
Just as you'd expect on a stormy night, a church bus breaks down and good and evil go at it.
We've had an accident. We just need a phone.
Not my cup of tea, but fans of kitschy redneck splatter are giving it up for longtime Nashville music video director Stephen Goldman. From predictable pulp to racist reality. A day's work taps into the tension and daily struggle of immigrant day laborers.
Listen, I know you guys are almost done, and is it okay if I write you a check for the work?
Cheque, no.
I understand that we talked about cash.
I say to you, only cash.
No, I know you did, but my cash is in my wallet, and my wallet is still at large. I've got checks here, they're perfectly good.
Oh, so you don't have no money?
No, I've got money, it's just that all I've got are checks.
I don't want your check, man. I say to you in the car, only cash. You say it's okay, you say okay.
Thanks to a special student grant, this movie was shot completely on the leftover film from Clint Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers.
Just pay the money and then we leave.
Tunde, why did you not tell your sister of my arrival?
Who's that guy?
My father.
A father's unexpected return lights a slow fuse in August the 1st.
Dad, last time we spoke, I told you I wanted to get over there.
Of course, and I thought I told you that it's not a good time.
Day, you keep your eye on him. I do not trust him.
This first-time director shot an award-winning film entirely in and around his mother's house. You'll want to see how he thanks her in the credits. And a lot of credit needs to go to the crews behind the lens in Urban Assault, an examination of poverty in Nashville.
On one hand, I think a lot of people would like to immediately jump to the conclusion that poverty is crime. And a lot of people would like to say that neighborhoods that are disorganized are crime. Really, that's not the case. Even in a city like New Orleans, where I policed for 21 years, and Nashville, you have people who are struggling economically. But the criminal piece of that is usually a very, very small part of that population. And more importantly, the people who are in poverty, in my experience, are the ones being held the most hostage by crime, not because they're criminals, but because they're either preyed upon by criminals or they feel so insecure in their environment that the criminals win.
With well-crafted composition and interesting angles, their Nashville somehow looked fresh and altogether different to me. Still ahead, the strongest lineup of all, this year's top documentaries. This year's documentaries are some of the best yet. In fact, it was tough for the festival's artistic director to narrow them down.
Well, the fact is that everyone has a story, and but you need more than that to make a really good documentary. You also really need to know how to make a film. And when I select films for the festival, especially with documentaries, I don't look at the subject matter as much as I look at the filmmaking.
Prison life was a world unto itself.
From the director who brought us Hoop Dreams comes the nightmarish task of a prison chaplain who walked nearly 100 inmates to and through the death house door.
After each execution, I made a tape on everybody that I walked with.
The documentary also unravels the wrongful execution of an innocent man.
He told the officers in the squad car, "I know who did it," and they just blew him off.
But it's that chaplain's personal conviction and conversion that makes for a more fascinating film.
The first injection of lethal medication began flowing to the arms. He opened his mouth, as if he was trying to say Allahu Akbar, which means Allah the Most Great.
It's hard to tell from the outside when a church has gone too far.
Several families retreat into therapy to try to loosen the grip of a Christian cult in the documentary called Join Us.
You act like you've seen this before.
Oh, honey, yes. This is what we hear all the time.
I don't know how to be a mom anymore. I don't have a clue.
Well, this place is getting rough. Let's say enough's enough.
Nashville singer Maura O'Connell is one of the executives